the Library of Congress, the once revered research library, has been ideologically captured.
It sure has.
By woke and DEI.
Well, I think just the ideas of libraries themselves. What do you mean everyone gets access to these books? What is it, communism?
Exactly. What do you mean free books?
Why
what do
are
you mean you can just go and read something?
Why are we archiving things? This makes no sense to me.
It's on the internet.
Exactly.
I can just go buy a book. I can go to Barnes & Noble. Why do I need to look at a book in the Library of Congress?
Well, exactly. I can go to Barnes & Noble and support a private business.
Yep, a
which is
business that's
better.
making profit, and that has a fiduciary responsibility to its shareholders.
Well, and because they're making profit, they're motivated to give me the best product.
Yes.
Congress, no profit motive. They could be lying to me.
Exactly. Exactly, 100%. These are the questions that no other administration was asking, either because they were too scared to or they were too complicit in what was going on.
And these questions are very intelligent.
These questions are very intelligent. And these, are the books in the Library of Congress appropriate for children?
Exactly.
That's something that this administration finally is contending with that Joe Biden frankly just wouldn't. And we have reporters going and asking Caroline Leavitt about the move from Trump to fire the head librarian of the Library of Congress. Of course he did. Let's roll the clip.
Let's take a listen.
The president fired the Librarian of Congress. Why did he choose to do that?
We felt she did not fit the needs of the American people. There were quite concerning things that she had done at the Library of Congress in the pursuit of DEI and putting inappropriate books in the library for children, and we don't believe that she was serving the interests of the American taxpayer well, so she has been removed from her position, and the president is well within his rights to do that.
Yeah.
Books like what?
Oh, I don't know, like genderqueer. Genderqueer. But it's... In all seriousness, it's really interesting that she's getting up there and doing the same talking points that she has for school libraries because she thinks they're the same thing.
Right.
She think
That's what I was going to say.
I wouldn't be surprised if the people in the Trump administration think you can just go to the Library of Congress and check out a book.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is I'm pretty sure the Library of Congress serves a fundamentally different function from your high school library.
It's an archive. I'm pretty sure it's any book that is published by a major publisher or anything that's published in the U.S. needs to send at least 2 copies to the Library of Congress for records and archiving purposes.
It's Library of Alexandria type shit.
Exactly. Also, it is a research library, not a go check out a book library and then keep the book and not return it library. You have to be 16 years old to get into the library itself, and you can only look at the materials that are there. You can't take anything with you.
Yeah.
No kids are going and reading the gay sex graphic novels at the Library of Congress.
And again, I gotta wonder what examples she's talking about. I'm guessing they just want to install a Russ Vogt 2025 Project 2025 loyalist.
Oh, absolutely. Guy. I do know the librarian that they fired, the head librarian, was leading this initiative to bring in more works from minority authors.
And that's an important thing to do.
A very important thing to do, because when we consider the function of the Library of Congress as this research library and this archive where we can learn about, I don't know, America,
everything, literally
learn about everything.
Yeah,
we need to include voices from everyone.
Yeah, voices from groups that have been historically silenced or not had access to the same level of publishing capability because they're a part of marginalized groups and don't have the money to do it.
But that's DEI. Yeah, which it's yes, but the good the DEI that is quite literally so plainly just good.
Man. These people would have been against the most basic things like Harry Truman desegregating the military.
Well, they're quite literally against black authors being included in the Library of Congress.
Yeah,
they're quite literally pro silencing the voices of, I don't know, black people that make art or minorities that make art.
Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad.
It's very bad. Yes.
Speaking of people getting fired, though. That's not the only firing we've seen so far this Trump administration, and we're only 110 days in, something like that. But there's been one figure in specific that has been going through this administration and claiming victory on terminations, people losing their jobs.
Of rogue agent.
And that's one, Laura Loomer. Ooh. Now, I've been looking it up, and I haven't seen that Laura Loomer has an official position. She's not marked as a senior advisor like Stephen Miller is, but she's in and around the White House pretty frequently. She claimed victory recently about over 4 different intelligence officials getting fired.
Really?
Sort of names that we wouldn't really be familiar with because they're sort of working in the background, but this was the fallout of the Houthi PC small group chat. And then she also was very excited and sort of implied that she had a hand in the firing of Mike Waltz.
Yes.
Because Mike Waltz is being put up for UN ambassador now, a job that is pretty severely a downgrade from what he was before. Because he was national security advisor, the sort of meeting point of all the intelligence agencies, and now he's going to be UN ambassador, basically just, doing nothing.
I also don't understand why he gets another job. He clearly fucked up. Why give him another job within the administration?
I think they
Why
don't
not
want
just
to
put somebody else up there?
They don't want to admit defeat, I think.
We're just shifting his responsibilities to this other thing.
Yeah. I think that's sort of what it is. But Laura Loomer is claiming victory for getting him fired. And now she's going after Pam Bondi.
Oh, my God.
Laura Loomer calls her Pam Blondie. She does not fuck with her at all. And the most recent thing, Laura Loomer, of course, is like a content creator. She does live streams and shit.
Awful person.
Oh, absolutely a horrible human
person.
being. She got banned from Twitter for saying some Nazi shit and then chained herself to the front doors of Twitter HQ before Elon took over.
Enemy of my enemy type shit, though, right now.
She is absolutely a terrible person, but she's been going after Pam Blondie, as she says, because Pam Blondie has not been releasing the Epstein files as promised. And she was mad about, you remember the whole binder thing?
Yeah, it was just an empty binder.
Pam Bondi handed out binders of information everyone already had.
Which is insane that she got away with that.
Pam Bondi was on Fox and one time claimed like, oh, the Epstein files are on my desk right now. I'll disseminate them soon. She didn't do it. So Laura Loomer's criticizing her for all of these things. And I'm guessing we'll try to get Pam Bondi fired at some point. But I think it's interesting because it's like, you're mad at Pam Bondi for not releasing the Epstein files. What possible reason do you think Pam Bondi would have for not dropping those files?
I wonder if it's because she's working with a guy who may have been pictured with the guy the files are named after.
I think that might be it.
But I'm not quite sure.
I mean, back when Trump was running for office, they said, would you release the 9/11 files? Yes, I would. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Would you release the JFK files? I would absolutely do it. Would you release the Epstein files? Well, I don't want to ruin people's lives. There's sensitive
There's a lot of good people that got caught up in that list.
There's a lot of phony stuff in the Epstein files. Yeah, no, it's like, think for 1 second why Pam Bondi, an employee of Donald Trump, one of the most powerful positions, the AG, why she might not want to release those files.
Direct appointment, like she could just be fired.
Yeah, so we'll see who can survive the loomering.
Who's gonna win?
The loomering has been getting people. People are getting loomered.
Damn.
So, yeah. Welcome back to Head in the Office, everybody. It's Monday, May 12th.
Yes, it is.
We're here for the Monday Mandate. We're recording the show. We got quite a bit to talk about today. We got Stephen Miller and Habeas Corpus.
Yeah.
He's not a fan of the rule of law. We've got maybe like Maoist price controls on prescription drugs out of Trump.
We have MAGA communism coming forth.
Pretty interesting. We got a potential trade deal with China, and we got some geopolitics the back half. Last week I was really thinking, news, I thought maybe, we hit the 100-day mark. Yeah. Maybe shit's starting to slow down. Because it felt like we weren't getting the bangers like we were getting before in the first 100 days. But this week, we're picking right back up.
We're picking right back up. Yeah, no. And you know what? It makes sense. There's going to be peaks and troughs. And we were just in a little trough, and now things are going. And I think things are going to keep going at like a pretty similar pace as they have been, considering all of the tariff news. At least that will be a constant going throughout this. It's kind of like Build Back Better in Biden's first year or two.
Yeah, and I was a little salty that we got more details about that UK plan after we talked, or the UK trade deal after we talked about it.
Oh, my God. I know.
It's just fucking luxury cars.
I didn't even think that the only cars that were like included in this are like, what is it, like Rolls Royce?
Luxury cars that Trump would buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's complete nonsense. But before we get into that, as always, I'll remind you, if you want early access to this content and commercial-free content, that's 2 episodes a week now, head over to Patreon. Patreon.com/headintheoffice.
We've functionally done Patreon deflation.
It's right.
Because now, for the same price as before, you're receiving double the early content.
Yeah. And you got to think about the content that you're receiving. It's absolutely important.
Yes.
Also, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, if that's not where you came from. Join the Discord. All the links are in the description. Every little bit helps.
It does.
Every little bit helps. And we, one other thing that you can always do that we've been complaining about, that we were complaining about last week, is you can leave a 5-star review on Apple. And we have, I think, many.
We have a couple this week. I got to say, I got to give an apology to everybody on the Thursday show. You know what? I'll never apologize. I'll never back down, because really what Apple did was they sabotaged us.
Well, the Trump way is to say, never apologize.
Yeah. And you know what? What would I be apologizing? It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault that Apple was silencing all of your voices.
Yeah. That's
still very important to leave the 5-star reviews, but sometimes they don't want to show it to us.
So this first one from TJ Michael, more left-leaning content. They say, I've been meaning to come listen to full episodes after loving the clips on TikTok as a painfully Caucasian male. That's real. It's very refreshing to hear other men with a desire to fight for all people regardless of their background. Excited for the next 200 episodes.
Well, you got to be.
Come on, brother. We're going to get there twice as fast.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You get there in 2 years, 2 short years, or 2 very long years, depending on if you're following the news week to week.
That's right.
This next review from Killjoy Moore, #1 economy / geopolitical / public health podcast. To start this, I'd like to say I condemn Hamas and all forms of political violence. I work as a political organizer for an education organization in Texas. Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah.
And we mainly fight against the HISD takeover. If you aren't familiar with it, look it up. It's insane. I listen to this podcast during driving from event to event and have even introduced voters, co-workers, and some of my students to Hiddo.
That's indoctrination, brother. That's the indoctrination.
We're going to come after for that one. Or more accurately, you will, because we're not doing any indoctrination.
That's right.
People are working hard in Texas to flip the state, and unions are working the hardest to save our democracy here. These two Michigan white boys give me hope in both men and somewhat the progressive movement. If you ever have some downtime, I suggest listening to any of the episodes because the takes are good, and for the most part, hold up. I'm going to say for the whole part.
For the whole part. Absolutely.
I'm going to say for the whole part. Hold up. There have been some predictions that go wrong, but a prediction is a prediction.
We always preface the prediction by saying this might not come true. It's a prediction.
Exactly. Everything that I've ever gotten wrong, I've probably said. I've never gotten anything wrong. I've never gotten anything wrong, frankly. Most part, hold up. Again, thank you for keeping my rides to work interesting in a totally non-parasocial way.
Thank you so much for that review.
This
next one from The Wrong K. Crystal, I don't know if that's how you say it, but the only white boys I trust, as do these white boys, condemn Hamas and all acts of political violence. I recently discovered this podcast, and it couldn't have come to me at a better time. Read The Rise of Fascism. The Hiddo lads do an amazing job of researching their topics and citing their sources so we can all do our own digging as well. They deliver the information in such a way that I can laugh until I remember I live in this country. Keep up the amazing work. P.S. They are not indoctrinating me with wokeness. This girl did it all by herself. That's a homegrown
I condemn indoctrination.
I do
wholeheartedly condemn indoctrination. This next one, Woke by TKRZ Emin. I condemn all forms of political violence. Is this podcast really biased or just correct? I think you know the
one
answer.
In the same, brother.
One in the same,
precisely.
Brother. I've been listening over the last year and recently became a Patreon member to support the show. Before giving my monetary support, I was reposting to my TikTok audience of 140K plus.
Okay, you don't got to flex on us.
That's what I'm saying.
That's kind of fucked up.
Come into our show and say, shit, I know I'm helping you out, and I know I'm doing charity work or whatever. Shit. To further the indoctrination, this is the #1 geopolitical and U.S. politics podcast.
Agreed.
You have to listen because being a leftist is the only correct take. Cosign.
I put that on God. Put that on God. Next one from Midwest Engineer, Midwest white boys with good takes that are good. First off, I condemn Hamas and all forms of political violence. I also condemn all bad things that are bad. These Midwest white boys are probably the only thing that gets me through my week at my 9-to-5 job. I first saw the show doom scrolling on TikTok, yikes, a little under 3 months ago. After listening to Hiddo, I've had more information to start pushing my Democrat family, thankfully no Republicans, farther left. The political takes of Hiddo are well articulated and easier to digest than most other forms of political media. I'm currently a Wednesday weenie, but at some point I will join the congregation. Keep up the great work. It's not really a congregation anymore, unfortunately. We can't say Sunday sermon.
Yeah, we do have like Wednesday mass. I know the Catholics do that every week. Yeah, I don't know if that's an every week thing or just a special event thing.
I guess we could call Monday mass and the Monday mandate.
You know what? I think it works.
You just don't want to be a Friday freeloader.
You do not want to be a Friday freeloader, but a Thursday thinker, it could happen.
Thursday
you know what
thinker,
I'm saying? A Thursday thinker, maybe Thursday thought leaders.
Oh,
my God! Maybe we found the money right here, folks. This next review and last review, I believe, is My Tithe from Jalen Hurts' Hymn. I would like to start by condemning John Fetterman and all acts of appealing to the moderate. As someone who contributed to the election of the man who needs to be put on a suit, I feel the need to atone for my actions. What better way could this be accomplished than supporting two quirked up white boys who root for the second best team in the NFC? Right. Hold on now. For real, though, I love this podcast and have listened weekly since finding it on TikTok. Excited for the future of 2 Hiddos a week.
Second best team in the NFC.
Yeah.
This is a very Pennsylvanian review here.
That's what I'm saying.
Their name is Jalen Hurts' Hymn.
Exactly. Yeah, they're very biased, I would say so.
Yeah, I would say biased and not fairly so. But thank you all for those reviews. If you want your review read, leave it on Apple Podcasts. We'll get to it on the next episode. But let's start with the news here.
Yeah, and we got quite the banger off the top, folks.
We got to talk about the rule of law.
Yes, we big, huge rule of law heads. Huge Constitution podcast.
Here we are again, stalwart leftists who should be able to sort of disentangle modern society and our critiques of, the Enlightenment.
I should be critiquing power for the sake of it.
But instead, here we are talking about why Enlightenment ideals are actually good in the face of what we're dealing with right now.
Yes.
And one of those ideas that we have to talk about as, far worse elements than liberals attempt to destroy everything and everyone is the idea of habeas corpus. Because last week, Stephen Miller floated the idea that the Trump administration is considering suspending habeas corpus to speed up the administration's deportations of undocumented immigrants. And now, without due process, which we've talked about extensively on this show, habeas corpus essentially doesn't exist anyway. Due process is sort of the umbrella that captures the entire judiciary in a just and fair society. Habeas corpus is one component of that. But the fact that they're so willing to dispense with something that is so critical in protecting you from the government is bad. It's a bad sign.
It's very bad. And I thought it was like interesting the language he used when he was talking about this too, because he goes, we're suspending the privilege of habeas corpus. And it's like, oh, buddy.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not like a Bill of Rights, like, right? But it is essential to upholding the rights of quite literally everyone.
Well, habeas corpus is in the Constitution.
Yeah.
It's not even an amendment. Like the founders or the drafters of the Constitution thought habeas corpus was so important that it needed to be included initially.
It was like first draft.
Yeah, because I mean, habeas corpus comes from like the monarchy in England, like protections against the king. And in its simplest form, I think in Latin it means you shall have the body, literally like you will have the body of charges presented against you so that you can defend yourself from them. It's the right to challenge your detention by the government. And if you don't have that right, like we've been saying with due process, you essentially don't have any rights.
Exactly, because what's stopping the actual Bill of Rights from being violated if they can just, anyone we say is a terrorist is a terrorist. We don't have to do any, like it's kind of crazy. And what pisses me off even more than, just the blatant badness of it all is how much of a fucking nerd he is. You know what I'm saying? He gets on there and he's like, well, actually, you stupid fucking reporter, we've done this, this, and this. And then he just lies.
Stephen Miller is maybe my most hated person.
And then his forehead wrinkles like that. It's like, buddy, I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm also confused why he looks like that. I think being evil does something to you.
Yeah,
you know
all these guys are like, it's like they're engineered in a lab.
Yeah. Now, of course, as we said, without this, the government can essentially imprison you without ever presenting charges against you for your imprisonment. And of course, Stephen Miller and other Trump officials have claimed that they want to do this, or they're considering doing this because of the quote-unquote invasion of immigrants. And I think it's important to point out here that if they can use it against immigrants under this pretext of an invasion, they will use it against just political dissidents.
Oh, of course. Because, I mean, if they can say that, like, MS-13 gang members are being thrown over the southern border just strictly by Venezuela, or Tren de Aragua is being sent by the Venezuelan government.
Without evidence
to destabilize America, then they can say communists are being shipped over from China with the purpose of destabilizing America's political environment. And these people there's an ideological invasion going on throughout this country, and we need to purge it of any of these people who have been captured.
That's the Red Scare, right? It's like these people who have never been to Russia, who have never been to anywhere in the Soviet Union, they are communists, they are communist aligned, and therefore we need to kick them out of the country. Or we need to jail them or whatever it may be. Yeah, no, it's terrible.
We need to do cancel culture.
Also, like, the administration keeps saying that if we have to give due process to all these immigrants that we're deporting, then we'll never be able to get rid of all of them. Yeah. And it's like, tough shit, dog. You're the government.
No, precisely.
Due process is a protection from you.
And it's like, even with that, that's like such a whine, too.
Yes,
like, they're just whining like toddlers. Like, well, Joe Biden brought all these people in without due process. One, you're lying about the number that he brought in. And two, again, tough shit.
Yeah, tough shit.
That's what happens.
You don't get to just jail a bunch of people or deport a bunch of people without proving why you're doing it. And there's already like an expedited process for undocumented immigrants. It's not that hard for the government to go through that process. I believe it's just like presenting the charges to an immigration officer and not even like a judge.
And all you have to do is, I think, give them time to challenge it if they want.
Yeah.
And not everybody's challenging it. Some people are going to get caught in ICE detention. They're just going to go. Like, it's silly.
Yeah, you want to be able to toss a bunch of people out of the country without ever proving that they are who you say they are. And we know that they've been deporting people that don't have criminal records. Yeah, I think people should be protected against that kind of action.
There's also just been a robust process for ICE to come in and grab immigrants who have committed crimes and deport them. Undocumented immigrants who have committed like awful crimes like murder and whatnot, and get them out of the country. That's never been a hard thing to do.
No.
And Joe Biden certainly was not just letting them walk around with records. records.
Yeah, I mean, we call Obama the deporter in chief. I mean, Obama hired Tom Homan, and this was like never an issue for him.
Yeah, liberals
he never needed to suspend due process.
The worst liberals are attacking Trump by saying, you're not even deporting as many people as Joe Biden. Like, come on, man. None of this is serious. They just want to do it violently because they fuck with the aesthetics.
Stephen Miller further doubled down on this on Friday on the habeas corpus stuff, stating that, quote, whether the administration will act to suspend habeas corpus depends on whether the courts do the right thing or not. That's a quote from Stephen Miller himself.
Because they're doing lawfare against them. Because I think he also said in that interview that these radical activist judges have been like captured by the left, and they're just trying to stop everything the administration has done. Stop whining.
Stop fucking whining,
Stop
dog.
whining.
Now, there's a few claims to contend with here. First of all, Stephen Miller asserts that there is a quote-unquote invasion of immigrants, and this authorizes or maybe necessitates the suspension of habeas corpus. But of course, there is no invasion. As we've already said, the Trump administration has failed repeatedly to prove there's anything like an invasion in court. They haven't even managed to prove that Tren de Aragua is being sent here by the federal or by the Venezuelan government that is like somehow captured by the gang.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to prove that in court. Internal documents in the State Department don't even suggest that that's true.
Court, not even the Supreme Court, when they were doing like the whether or not he can continue with the Alien Enemies Act deportations, ruled that there was an actual invasion.
Yeah.
Like nowhere has anybody said that this is the case, that this is what's happening.
Yeah, and that just gets to the point that they just consider immigration or undesirables, quote unquote, being here as an invasion. Not some like natural part of, I don't know, living on a continent with other countries.
Yes.
Like immigration is just a natural thing that's going to happen, especially as like travel has been revolutionized over the last several hundred years. People are going to try to come to your country, especially if you're wealthy.
And we constantly flex about being the wealthiest nation. We flex about the American dream, and then people are going to see that and think, well, maybe that's for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Second, Stephen Miller claims that this is a power that the executive branch has, that the president has the power to suspend habeas corpus, but he decidedly does not. Habeas corpus has been suspended 4 times in U.S. history: the Civil War, Reconstruction, an insurrection in the Philippines in 1905, and after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Each of those times, Congress has approved the suspension, except in the Civil War, when Lincoln did it himself first. The Supreme Court said, hey, dog, you can't do that without Congress. And then Congress did it. Congress also didn't approve it in the Philippines, but that was sort of like a territory of the U.S. that was chartered under a different set of rules. So it's sort of complicated there. But on mainland United States, there's been no time where the president has invoked habeas corpus and the Supreme Court didn't step in and say, like, you need Congress to do this.
And I think there have been like Supreme Court cases like litigating stuff like this that have been, a part of like the robust history we talked about when we were talking about the Alien Enemies Act, of the Supreme Court interpreting invasion very strictly and very much in the context of war, not in any other context of, I don't know, Venezuela sending gang members to us without any proof.
Yeah.
I think Bush tried to do like a similar Bush tried to suspend habeas corpus and like
with the terrorism acts.
With the terrorism thing. And then there was a Supreme Court case, what is it, Boumediene v. Bush.
I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, where the Supreme Court also continued to rule that, hey, buddy, you can't do this.
Yeah, you need Congress's approval if you're going to suspend habeas corpus, and it has to be like an actual threat to public safety. And if you think, if the administration is going to argue that we are anywhere near Civil War levels of emergency, that is just fucking asinine.
Yeah.
Like the administration this last week was trying to take away temporary protected status from immigrants that are from places like Haiti or Cuba, when they are, without exaggeration, those migrants are responsible for reviving the economies in which they live. Like there is nothing on the level of the Civil War or like an invasion from a foreign army happening here. They're just using it all. They're trying to scare you as a pretext to deport people and eventually take your rights away too if you're a dissident.
Damn.
So, bad on both counts here.
Very bad.
Yeah, not only is there no invasion, not only does the executive branch decidedly, historically, not have the power to do this, but it's designed to hurt people. The cruelty is the point. And it's also going to hurt the economy if that's something that you need to have sort of like front loaded. In addition, the Trump administration tried to deport migrants to Libya last week, a country in Africa, before a judge stepped in. According to court filings, quote, individuals potentially subject to deportation to Libya also included Filipino, Laotian, and Vietnamese migrants.
Nice.
So people not from Libya. If you know anything about Libya, it's not a very safe place. They've been in sort of a warlord situation for a while.
I mean, same thing with El Salvador. Like this doesn't. These aren't like deportations. Like, isn't a deportation sending somebody back to their country of origin?
You would think so.
Interesting.
I also have another quote from Reuters, quote, "You'll have to ask Homeland Security," Trump told reporters in the Oval Office on Wednesday. The Pentagon referred queries to the White House. The White House and the Department of Homeland Security did not respond to requests for comment. A State Department spokesperson said, quote, "We do not discuss the details of our diplomatic communications with other governments."
They're essentially, doing the John Kirby.
The buck stops with that guy over there. Like, I don't know what's happening. Trump literally has no idea what's going on.
The only thing he knows about is tariffs, and that's it.
Tariffs and dolls, baby.
And now it looks like Scott Besson is handling all of that stuff.
Honestly,
Trump's barely involved, which is better.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we're talking like minimizing harm, marginally better that it's Scott Besson.
Much better, but that's the only thing he has any involvement, it seems like.
Yeah. So first, we're sending migrants to El Salvador based on false pretenses. Sometimes people that don't even have criminal charges, and now we're sending people to Libya that have never they're not from Libya. I don't understand how this isn't like a violation of the 8th Amendment.
Yeah.
Seems like a cruel and unusual punishment to me to send somebody to a dangerous country that they are not from. So for literally no reason. There's no justification.
Just because.
Yeah, just because.
And they'd love to talk about all these stories of grandmas running away from ICE and whatnot. Yeah. It's like, buddy, you're not painting the picture of the violent criminals that are coming over here and killing our daughters.
There actually was a granny in LA, I think, that was just detained for deportation.
That's what I was thinking of.
She's undocumented. I think she was going home from work.
Yeah, she took a wrong turn in Chicago or something? No,
it was LA.
It was LA,
yeah. I think she's 60-something. She's been here for 20 years. Obviously has roots here, has a family here, has connections, participates in the economy, is working, doing nothing to harm anybody except
paying taxes.
I don't know, maybe turning down the wrong way on a one-way road.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, then ICE is going to get you.
These are the what social good does this serve?
And now we need to spend $17,000 to deport her. Oh, nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
We're going to be spending a bunch of money to deport her and depriving the local economy of the job that she was working.
Yep.
Just all around economic harm. If you need to care about that before you can care about people.
Yeah.
But also, it's just cruel.
What happened if nobody wants to work anymore? We got people that want to work and we're kicking them all out.
We got abuelas trying to work.
That's what I'm saying.
Abuelas that have been here working for 20 years.
They shouldn't even have to work.
Yeah. So, not great. I hate commercials.
Me too.
I hate listening to them. I hate when I hear them, whether it's on TV or on podcasts.
Grr, I just can't stand commercials.
They're the worst. And the one place you can go to avoid commercials, like this one you're listening to right now, is patreon.com/headintheofficepod. Become a patron, and you get early access to our episodes, and they're all completely commercial-free. No more interruptions.
And you could be one of our friends.
And that's arguably the more important point.
And, in trying times like this, friendship is what we really need.
Friendship's really important. And you can buy your way into being a friend of ours by heading over to patreon.com/headintheofficepod. Again, early access to episodes, no commercials, access to all of our content before anyone else sees it. Become a patron. Moving on to some more not great stuff.
Yeah, no.
If we're talking bad news, we got to take a trip to New Jersey, a place where no one ever wants to go.
This is true.
New Jersey. And we're going to specifically go to Newark.
This shit must have had Stephen Miller kicking his feet.
Yeah, probably. Absolutely. So last week, the Newark mayor, Ross Bacra, was arrested when visiting a newly opened migrant detention facility, which is being contracted by the federal government. A private prison is being contracted to open
Famously good.
With some members of Congress. The members of Congress weren't arrested, but for reasons we'll talk about, that might happen. So a little confusing. But back in January, the Trump administration scheduled the reopening of Delaney Hall in New Jersey to hold immigrants for deportation. As I said, they did so by contracting with a private prison company, and the facility just opened on May 1st. Now, the New York mayor accused DHS of not following the proper permitting and occupancy laws, challenged them in court. It was basically going nowhere. So the mayor and 3 members of the New Jersey congressional delegation showed up to the facility to inspect it during a protest as a sort of oversight action on the facility. And according to Mayor Bacra, or Barkra, I don't know exactly how to say his last name. Baraka, something like that. He was inside the facility with Congress people for about an hour. Then he was told to leave because he was trespassing. And then after he went outside of the gates of the facility, ICE arrested him.
Okay.
Or agents of the federal government arrested him.
They just let him be in there for an hour?
He was arrested and charged and I believe released all on the same day. He has to reappear in court on Thursday of this week. But yeah, I mean, they just detained a guy for doing an oversight inspection, and DHS claims that they didn't set a meeting. They would have given a tour if they had called ahead or something like that.
Of course, that's always the excuses. Oh, we would have done the thing.
But these are, your superiors directly, at least in terms of like Congress. Like you got to let Congress people do oversight, but also like the mayor of the city in which the facility is opening. They're publicly elected leaders. They deserve to be able to inspect whatever the government's doing.
Yeah, I feel like it's really hard to say that the mayor of the place that you built something in, when it's like a government building, or at least a building contracted by the government, can trespass.
Yeah,
just at all.
Yeah, it's like it's genuinely so dystopian. Like the Trump administration reopens a migrant detention facility to fulfill their goal, I think, of making of opening facilities with a cumulative number of beds that equals 100,000.
What?
I think they want 100,000 beds for deportations across like New Jersey, a couple of other states, including Michigan. That's their goal, is to open a bunch of facilities to get to 100,000 beds. So they opened this this migrant detention facility again against the wishes of New York or New Jersey, potentially against permitting and occupancy laws, and then they contract a private prison company to do it, and then arrest a guy who is trying to do oversight because he's a public official.
That's so sick.
Yeah,
I love private prisons.
Yeah, it is genuinely so dystopian, and at the same time, if you watch the video, all the dudes from ICE there are just in full like military gear and face coverings.
It's always either that, they've got the baklavas on. It's either they do not want people to know who they are, or they're pulling up in plain clothes.
Yeah,
it feels like it's never the middle.
Yeah, no, it was dudes like with bulletproof vests and stuff, but like they completely covered their face, and I feel like an ICE agent should not be allowed to wear face coverings.
Yeah.
Like, why? Because that just tells me you're doing some nefarious shit.
Like, why do you not want to know who you are? Why do you not want to be able to be, like, held accountable on video for these things?
Yeah, if you saw a video of, like, masked police officers arresting somebody in another country, you'd be like, oh, shit, that's dystopia.
Yeah, that looks fucked up.
But when it happens here, we pretend like, oh, yeah, everything's cool and freedom is protected.
The optics of that are crazy.
Yeah.
Especially when they're arresting the mayor.
The mayor.
And potentially Congress people, because I think ICE is trying to claim that like the Congress people that were with him were assaulting ICE officers, but everything's on video. Mm-hmm. Everything's on video. Like, I think Axios reported that that's just not there in the body camera footage.
Yeah, like Democrats won't do literally anything to push back, and you want me to believe that they are assorting ICE officers inside a detention facility?
They'll barely trespass.
That'd be so for real.
They wouldn't even actually knowingly trespass if they were told not to. Mm-hmm. Say, oh, we have to leave the premises.
It's a struggle to get Democrats to do anything. You want me to believe they're doing violence to Trump agents? No, be so for real. There's a few notes just like on the propaganda around this news story. First, again, they say they were trespassing. But the stories from the mayor himself and some of the members of Congress are like completely different from what ICE is actually saying. Also, every news outlet is citing the word of the interim district attorney, who posted on Twitter, quote, that the mayor, quote, ignored multiple warnings from Homeland Security. But nobody is noting that this interim DA in New Jersey was appointed by Donald Trump recently.
Okay, yeah, beautiful.
So they're just gonna tout the administration's line.
And it's also like, couldn't we actually find out if they ignored multiple warnings by Homeland Security?
You would think.
Yeah, like I feel like there'd be a camera somewhere or something that says that.
Yeah, but also like it's the mayor. He can go wherever he wants.
That's what he should be.
Literally the mayor. Bask in the glorious light of Hito merchandise.
Absolutely.
We have so much on offer that you can find right now at headintheoffice.com. We got stickers, we got shirts, we got hoodies, we got hats, we got everything you could possibly imagine. And it's divine, folks.
It's beautiful.
And it's one of the best ways you can support the show. So go and get some merch, bathe in the glory of the radiant Hito light, and support the show.
Support the show. We've got a variety of different colors. Mm-hmm. We've got blacks, we've got grays, and we've got green like money, most importantly. Mm-hmm. We love money here on this podcast.
So head over to headintheoffice.com, support the show, and get yourself some merch. But anyways, that's New Jersey.
That's New Jersey. But while we're talking about attorney generals and people who are attorney generals and people who are Trump appointees that could be attorney general.
We're talking about the law.
We're talking about the law. We're talking about, this is the #1 Law and Order podcast.
We got to talk about Judge Jeanine Pirro, one of my favorite potential members of the White House.
Judge Jeanine, highly rated show on Fox. Highly rated.
So Trump recently announced that he would appoint Jeanine Pirro, a Fox News host, to be the interim U.S. District Attorney in D.C. Judge Jeanine Pirro would be the 23rd Fox News personality to be appointed to the Trump administration since January. Fox News is already a propaganda outlet But now it is literally just state media.
Like the just regime media, Fox News.
Yeah.
The Fox News to actual political appointee pipeline is insane.
Yeah.
If Joe Biden was grabbing everybody from like CNN and putting him in the cabinet, riots in the streets.
Riots in the streets.
Riots in the streets, absolutely. If Hillary Clinton proposed that she was going to put, I don't fucking know, Anderson Cooper.
And like you could argue it makes sense for like a comms team, right? To put together a comms team of people that worked in the news because like they're used to, like interfacing with media.
Speechwriters, press secretaries, like blah, 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 blah.
But this is a district attorney.
Yeah.
Pete Hegseth leads the Department of Defense.
Yes.
Like it's fucking absurd. You are giving these people actual power, and their only qualification, I guess Judge Jeanine Pirro like has worked in the law, of course.
But how long has it been since she's worked at the law?
The only qualification that Trump gives a damn about is that they were on Fox News.
Does she like actively practice or like do anything, or does she just do TV?
I don't know.
I thought she just did TV.
I think she just does TV now.
I feel like that shouldn't be allowed.
Well, Trump said about her in a Truth Social post, quote, in addition to her legal career, Jeanine previously hosted her own Fox News show, Justice with Judge Jeanine, for 10 years and is currently co-host of The Five, one of the highest rated shows on television. Jeanine is incredibly well qualified for this position and is considered one of the top district attorneys in the history of the state of New York.
Oh, so she used to be New York DA.
Yeah.
I fucking guessed,
The Fox News administration.
But what's funny about this statement is the used to be one of the top DAs in New York comes after highly rated TV show.
Yeah.
I saw her all the time on cable news.
Well, he watches The Five and he likes it.
Yeah.
How long until Jesse Waters gets a fucking administration job?
Jesse Waters and NASDAQ advisor.
Honestly, like
there was an opening for a minute.
If I was in Fox News, I would not want to be tapped for a job in the administration.
No.
Working at Fox News would be way easier.
I'd much rather stay cushy, get on TV and lie.
Yep.
And
still get all the praise. You still get all the praise.
Exactly, and nobody's coming at you like they would if you had actual power. You're not held to account for anything on Fox News. Yeah. There is a chance you could actually be held to account, maybe even legally, if you do something wrong in an actual position of power.
Nobody would be talking about Pete Hegseth if he had just stayed on his like morning show on Fox News and kept showing up drunk and whatnot. Yeah. Nobody would give a damn about him. But now every time we see him, we're like, he only shaved one sideburn, fucking drunk. He's slurring his words, fucking drunk. Like, he gets cooked alive every time
he picks up a glass, what's in the glass? Like,
absolutely.
Insane amount of scrutiny on all of these people. Yeah. That's got to be personal hell.
Yeah, no, that's why I would never, if I was on Fox News, if I had the job, primetime show, I would never.
If these people had shame, you'd have to say that the imposter syndrome must be going crazy. Like, they must be feeling like insane on the inside. Like, oh my God, can I actually do the Department of Defense? Maybe not in Pete Hegseth's case, because he loves this. He's ideologically motivated to death and killing and making the military only lethal.
I don't know if these people have imposter syndrome.
I don't think they do because they don't have shame. Yeah. But like if they did,
maybe that's the difference.
It's got to be the difference, man. But 23 appointments from Fox News.
23 since January.
That's crazy.
That's got to be like obviously they weren't all like prime time. Like Trump didn't just clean house on Fox News, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But 23 different people from Fox News. Like could you imagine if Biden came in first, 5 months or whatever and just like cleaned house at CNN?
If Biden come through and said, actually, Morning Joe is going to be my Secretary of State. He basically was. Joe Biden would turn on Morning Joe and then just do whatever he said. But
that's a good point. But like giving him an official position, that's crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy. It's like he saw Morning Joe on TV, like Trump sees Judge Jeanine and Pete Hegseth and all these people. He's like, he's got good ideas. He can run the government.
I think that's literally what happens. I think for the most part, it's like Russ Vaught and Stephen Miller that are in charge of all the hiring stuff. Yeah. But I think they let Trump every once in a while pick a Fox News host and then add them to the administration to keep him happy.
They like to let Trump pick a Fox News host as the head, and maybe the other guys fill out their staff.
It's very obvious that Trump is not running the show, except when Fox News host gets elected or tariffs go up another 300%.
100%. And it's funny too, because for everybody being Fox News hosts, for everybody being coworkers working in communications, none of them communicate. None of them talk to each other. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on.
They're right down the White House is not that big.
Yeah.
DC itself is not that big. It's just a quick. There's like tunnels underneath
the White House
the entire
is
city.
Actually like surprisingly small and tiny.
Yeah,
man.
If you're working out of the West Wing, you can walk over to the East Wing pretty easy. Or if you're working at one of the other buildings in DC, I think there's like underground tunnels that connect them all.
Or you could hop on a spin bike.
Yeah,
or a spin scooter,
or the metro. Don't hop on a spin scooter; those are dangerous. Anyways.
Yeah, no, in other Trump news, lots of Trump news lots of Trump news that happened over the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know if they thought like maybe they could get away with it if it was over the weekend, but I feel like everything that happens is just crazy.
I mean, they did get away with it in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I think especially like everything up until we'll talk about prescription drug prices in a little bit, they probably did get away with. Specifically this new Air Force One fiasco. So news broke on Sunday that Trump is considering accepting a $400 million Boeing 747-8 from the Qatari royal family to be retrofitted and used as the new Air Force One. CNN reported that the deal is structured so that the plane is actually a gift from the Qatari Ministry of Defense to the Pentagon for use as Air Force One throughout Trump's term, after which it will be donated to Trump's presidential library so that he can personally use it. If this is not corruption in its just most blatant form, I don't know what could be.
Yeah. So obviously, I think the DOJ was like, oh, well, we reviewed the gift and we decided that because they're not asking for anything, it's not bribery. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
For sure. Yeah. 100%. We're going to give you $400 million out of the goodness of our own heart.
He's just giving me money because he likes me. He didn't ask anything of me.
Exactly.
Like, at what point do people just get that much money just for fun?
Well, it's $400 million.
Yeah.
$400 million from like Qatar? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's insane. Qatar, a place who like people like, I don't know, 8 months ago were yelling at Mehdi Hassan for working for like Al Jazeera with. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just nothing is principled. This is genuinely the most corrupt administration in American history.
Yeah.
I mean, he's considering accepting a $400 million gift.
Yeah, and
for
using
personal use. It's not like it would continue to be Air Force One throughout, I don't know, whoever the next president's term is. It's no, and then this is going to you, and you can fly it, or you can fly around this palace in the sky, as Bernie Sanders put it.
I think, didn't the Qatari government call it a palace in the sky? Or maybe they just called it like a luxury jet or something like that.
Yeah.
Very obviously a bribe.
100%.
Like, very clearly. Or just buttering him up to like earn favor or whatever it may be. But I'm pretty sure like Air Force One is like a special plane. It's not just a plane.
That's why it would have to be like, I think it was like the DOD will have to retrofit it over the next year. One, Secret Service said security nightmare. Straight up said that because like, outside of like corruption,
there could be bugs in there.
There could be bugs.
Yeah,
there could be listening devices everywhere in the seats. I think they said they're gonna have to take apart the entire plane and inspect it.
What's the point?
Which it's like
waste of money.
Well, we're giving good Americans jobs. That's what's going on here. We're putting good Americans in good jobs of taking apart the Qatari plane and making sure there's no listening devices. Yeah, so that's gas. Genuine security nightmares, so that's good. And then they'll have to retrofit it with like a bunch of supplies while Boeing is already currently contracted with like, I think $1 billion contracts to make the next generation Air Force One. Because Air Force One has to be like a very specific plane.
Yeah.
I think in like the specs, it's supposed to be able to like survive shockwaves from nuclear blasts and dodge missiles, and also be like a communications hub so that the president can do all of his like presidential work and needs from the plane when he's off and abroad.
I mean, you can look up like images inside. It's like it's whatever jet. Now the entire like internals are torn out, and it's like a giant office space for the president.
Insane.
And it's got like defensive capabilities and shit too, because it's the president's on board.
Genuinely like low-key a marvel of technology.
Yeah. And it's like maybe they chose to give him a Boeing.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Given Boeing's recent, manufacturing failures and silencing of people allegedly.
Boeing also has the contract for the next 2 Air Force Ones. So it's just like...
That seems dangerous for our presidents.
I'm saying, maybe a panel will fall off the thing that's supposed to be able to survive a nuclear blast.
This would have been funnier if he gave it to J.D. Vance for to be Air Force 2. That would have been funnier. But instead Trump takes it himself.
I'd have let him accept that one. I'd have let him get away with it personally. But it's like this one just genuinely might be so corrupt that it's a violation of the Constitution. Specifically the foreign emoluments clause. And just, not me having to be a Constitution head, but here we are. Once again, this administration is forcing me to bust out the pocket Constitution.
It's fucked up, man.
I should defend it.
I should be arguing from the complete other direction.
Precisely.
I should be arguing against everything in the Constitution and the basis upon which it was formed.
Yes, we are regressing so far away that it's like when we transitioned from feudal states to capitalism.
Man,
my God, the opportunity that will come from transitioning to this capitalist system. That's where we'll be in probably like 2 years.
Man, I'm just I should be arguing that the Constitution is really just a representation of the economic interests that were at play during the Constitutional Convention. But no, I got to argue some of the ideas were actually kind of good, guys.
some of these were advanced for their time. It's like I said, in 2 years we're gonna be arguing for. I'm gonna be busting out Wealth of Nations.
I'm gonna be arguing for free markets and shit.
The podcast no, guys, you don't understand. We should be doing all of this trade. invisible hand.
Yeah, like we should not let the king decide what the price of grain is.
Yes, it should be market forces. I'm going to be busting out supply and demand graphs. I'm going to be showing you. I'm going to be pointing to equilibrium.
Material conditions determined, man. That's where we are.
I'm a victim of it. You know what I'm saying? Nature versus nurture. I'm being fucking nurtured to hell right now.
I'm temporally locked. I'm trapped in I'm trapped in a product of my own time.
Yes, it's fucked up. It's fucked up.
It really is.
And basically, what this clause does, it just explicitly bars foreign payments to a sitting U.S. president unless Congress approves of the gift. And it's
Which they won't.
It's that Congress approves of the gift part that kind of scares me because it's like, I don't know. There's got to be at least enough conservatives that can say there's no fucking way you can accept this gift from the Qatari royal family.
That'd be funny though if Slotkin was like, lots of Boeings are built in the state of Michigan, so I'm going to vote for this.
This is actually a great thing. This is going to bring.
There's no way. I think that's beyond the pale even for her, to be honest.
No, but Republicans?
Oh, Republicans would vote for it.
If all the Republicans vote for it, then it passes. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
Well, no, would you need 60 votes in the Senate probably?
Filibuster? Oh, true, filibuster. I hope so.
But I would have to guess there's at least a couple of Republicans that'd be like, this is a bit much.
Maybe that's what I think too.
Maybe this might not be the thing to like stick your neck out for. I don't know.
It can't be.
But like objectively, it's so fucking corrupt. And you know, I would like to see like if Joe Biden accepted some shit like this from a country that they viewed as like, I don't know, evil. Like, I don't know what like if Trump got or if Biden got a gift from fucking Ukraine, they would Fox News would be talking about it for months.
Oh, 100%.
This type of shit happens with Trump, and it's just like, well, that's what he does, and we move on, and it's like we need to focus on this shit.
He's a businessman. He's getting his business done. You don't understand the deals he's making.
Yeah,
you don't understand the deals being made at his expense. You don't understand the bribes he's making. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, again, it was so bad that Chuck Schumer actually said something good. He went on and tweeted, "quote Nothing says America first like Air Force One, brought to you by Qatar." Broken clocks and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Under no circumstance you have to give it to Chuck Schumer, and I'll say a intern probably wrote that. Probably wasn't him that cooked
the one woke staffer left on his thing.
Yeah, because I don't think I've ever heard Chuck Schumer come up with a banger line.
That's true. It's like the monkeys on the typewriter. You know what I'm saying? Eventually they'll write Hamlet or whatever. You give them enough time.
Yeah, exactly.
And the random keystrokes
Given
will come
infinite
together.
time, a monkey or a chimpanzee or whatever will write Shakespeare.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's what happened here.
That must be what happened.
100%.
Well, because he's been in the Senate forever. He's like 100 years old.
He is a dinosaur. He's had enough time to finally make a good statement.
Yeah. I hate commercials.
Me too.
I hate listening to them. I hate when I hear them, whether it's on TV or on podcasts.
Grr, I just can't stand commercials.
They're the worst. And the one place you can go to avoid commercials, like this one you're listening to right now, is patreon.com/headintheofficepod. Become a patron, and you get early access to our episodes, and they're all completely commercial-free. No more interruptions.
And you could be one of our friends.
And that's arguably the more important point.
And, you know, in trying times like this, friendship is what we really need.
Friendship's really important. And you can buy your way into being a friend of ours by heading over to patreon.com/headintheofficepod. Again, early access to episodes, no commercials, access to all of our content before anyone else sees it. Become a patron.
Speaking of statements, boy, did we have one late Sunday night. Trump got on Truth Social. I'm not going to read the full truth.
It's big.
That he truthed out, but it had me confused and feeling a lot of different things.
Confused, upset, perturbed that I'm seeing MAGA Maoism manifest itself in this way.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about it.
I don't know how to navigate this. And I don't think he knows how to navigate this either, as we'll go on and explain.
Oh, no, he's totally motivated by personal interest.
Yeah, because essentially what he truthed out was that he said, on Monday at 9 a.m., I'm going to be signing an executive order to fucking kill the pharmaceutical companies, lower prescription drug prices. For far too long have Americans been just being absolutely ripped off by the billionaires in the pharmaceutical industry. And then he kind of did it.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders possessed him for a moment.
Yeah, but like his plan is like weird.
Yeah, let's get into it then. Let's get into his plan.
It's not even really like a plan.
Listen to his announcement?
I think we should listen to his announcement video, or at least this was the preamble to his announcement, because I think this speaks far more to like Trump's motives than anything ideological, and certainly anything that's principally progressive. Okay, let's roll the clip.
I mean, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him.
Top guy.
Highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug. And he called me up, and he said, President, he calls me, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President, so that's nice
Classic
respect.
Trump.
He's a rough guy, smart guy.
Rough guys.
Very successful, very rich. I wouldn't even know how we would know this, but because he's got comments. President, could I ask you a question? What? I'm in London, and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said,
Oh, my God.
he said, I just paid $88. And in New York, I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on? I mean, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's
Trump discovered that prescription drugs in America are far too expensive than they should be because his, I don't know, millionaire friend was like, hey, I paid less over here in London.
Yeah.
He's speaking like he was genuinely not aware of this issue until now.
And like this has been an issue that progressives have been talking about for decades. Like back in the 2000s, Bernie Sanders used to take people from Vermont into Canada for cheaper prescription drugs.
And that was like controversial.
Yeah. Like, this has been an issue for a long time that, you know, maybe Democrats haven't done enough, but they tried to make some progress on. But the entire issue here is the profit motive.
Yes.
Like, the entire reason that drugs cost more in America, that healthcare costs more in America, is because it's a privatized system, and you've got people at every corner of this system trying to make more money off of you. Like, that is so obviously the issue, especially if they're in the UK.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about?
It's also just like, You're fucking kidding me. We've been screaming about this for so long. We've been fighting for this for so long. Even Joe Biden got on the issue, trying in Build Back Better to get Medicare to be able to negotiate prescription drug prices just like across the board, where I think every Republican voted against it.
We in the IRA, Medicare is able to negotiate drug prices, but that doesn't start until 2026.
Yeah.
Same with the cap on insulin costs. Same with the, I think, $2,000 cap on like overall cost for seniors under Medicaid.
And Republicans
or Medicare.
railed on that, calling it price controls, calling it communism, blah, blah, blah. And then Donald Trump gets out here and does this.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And he also gets out and here's my fat ass fucking friend. He's way too fucking fat. I told him he was fat and he takes this dumbass fat drug.
I said it doesn't work.
And he's got to pay too much for his fat drug?
Yeah.
Can you believe that, folks? It's just like he doesn't go out here like, oh, this person that I heard about has cancer and they couldn't afford the treatments and so they died because of it. This is a problem that happens all across America. It's no, my fucking rich ass friend. He's rich as hell.
It's the same thing as when Marjorie Taylor Greene stumbled across the prison industrial complex when she went to go tour the DC prisons where January 6th protesters or rioters were being held, and she was like, "Oh my God, these conditions are terrible." It's like, dog, that's prison in America. Same thing here. Trump stumbles upon the issue of the pharmaceutical industry in the United States just by accident.
Like, these people are so incredibly out of touch.
Yes.
And they're telling you how out of touch they are. I'm pretty sure everybody who's listening to this has paid too damn much for a prescription drug one time and could tell you that that's kind of egregious.
And you can tell that this isn't like a well thought out thing based on what his solution is.
Yes.
In the executive order, which essentially is to shift the cost of prescription drugs here in the U.S. Onto other countries.
Yeah.
So that we can pay a lower rate, but other countries have to pay a higher rate, even though they have universal healthcare systems where they use their government to get lower rates.
That's like functionally like what could be a consequence of it. In the like executive order that he signed earlier today, it's going to, per NBC, direct HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy to come up with a price-cutting goal within 30 days. White House officials said on a call Monday, the move will kick off a round of negotiations between Kennedy and the drug industry. Not Medicare negotiating prescription drug prices, Robert F. Kennedy negotiating prescription drug prices.
Yeah.
Interesting distinction right there.
Again, a thing Democrats, like as a party, have been fighting for for years and years and years, letting Medicare or the federal government negotiate drug prices.
Yes. Denied by Republicans at every single turn.
And even that is a fucking Band-Aid solution on the problem that it's a privatized system that people have to make money off of in order to function.
And should talks between RFK and drug companies stall, Kennedy will move to enforce the, quote, most favored nation pricing model, which would cap U.S. prices at the lowest rates paid by other wealthy nations. Effectively, what that would do is what Jeremy said, where drug companies are just going to raise prices in other wealthy nations to compensate for lost profits here.
It does confuse me a little bit because there are some countries, I think like the United Kingdom, who have single-payer systems where the government literally just runs everything. Right, there's no private actors that they pay. Like in countries like Germany, they still pay private companies for, you know, like hospital services and stuff like that. The government itself doesn't run the hospital, but at the point of service, the patient isn't paying for anything. Right? It's different in some countries, but I'm confused. Like if drugs are literally $0 in the United Kingdom, are we going to set like insulin or whatever else whatever other medication people need at $0 because that's what the UK pays?
Are we going to pay what NHS pays for the drugs?
Right.
Like there's no framework for any like meaningful change to actually happen. There's no actual policy here. Like that's what's fucked up about it. And it's like that's what's wrecking my fucking brain, because it's like I would love if Donald Trump came out here and said Americans are no longer going to be ripped off by pharmaceutical companies and actually do something meaningful. But it doesn't seem like anything meaningful is going to come from this.
What it seems like to me is that Donald Trump has stumbled across a systemic issue.
Yes.
And for some reason has decided he wants to do something about it.
And it's like the first time he's ever heard about it, by the way.
Yeah.
He's 80 years on this
years
planet.
of life. It's the first time he's heard that drugs cost more in America for some reason. And rather than going after the actual issue, which is the fact that companies profit off of the creation and sale of these drugs, he's trying to maintain profit margins for those companies by shifting costs onto other populations.
Because that's just how it would have to happen.
And I don't know how you get there without like an export tariff or something like that. Or I guess if pharmaceutical companies just raise prices when they sell to like the NHS or to Germany or something like that. I
think it would genuinely just be like a supply demand curve thing. Like, okay, they have to make up for lost margins from selling to America, so they're going to have to raise prices in Germany and the British NHS.
Yeah.
Like it just seems like we're shifting the problem to another aspect rather than addressing the actual issue, which is, like you said, the profit motive in healthcare.
Yes.
Because when you have something so essential to human life, like healthcare, be run by the need to constantly be making more and more and more and more money, the actual product, which is essentially making people's lives better and making people healthier, is secondary to the product's ability to give money to the shareholders of the company.
Yes, yeah.
And you just can't have a functioning system like that. You can't have a system where there isn't inherent exploitation on arguably the most vulnerable people among us, the sick population, without addressing that.
And again, the only reason that American drug prices are higher is because it's a private system.
Yeah.
That it's the only variable in this equation here is because we have an entirely private system. Of course, Medicare exists and Medicaid exists, but that's nowhere near like even a public option, for example.
It's not the NHS.
Other countries have cheaper drugs because their government runs the healthcare system. Like you said, it's an essential good. And as long as it's left up to the free market, insurance companies, drug companies can charge you as much as they want because you need it to live.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
It's pretty bad, and I don't know. Maybe Trump will get there. Maybe Trump
accident.
Maybe Trump is having a Maoist awakening.
I don't know, man.
Maybe Trump's gonna Mao the pharmaceutical industry.
He's gonna like fall backwards into universal healthcare by accident.
Who knows?
Fuck, dog. If that's what it takes at this point.
Next thing you know, he's gonna say, my fucking fat ass dumbass friend over there wanted to go get liposuction. That shit was hella expensive. I can't believe how expensive surgeries are in the U.S. We got to do something about this. We got to do something about these insurance companies.
That's the thing is, like, on its face, to me, what it looks like is similar to those executive orders that he wrote back in January, where he basically said, I'm ordering every department to find all the waste, fraud, and abuse in 30 days.
Yeah.
And then report back to me, and nothing fucking happened. Or they just cut a bunch of essential services and fired a bunch of essential workers. I think something like that's going to happen here, where RFK is told, go find all like the places where we can cut costs on drugs. He'll come back with essentially nothing, and then nothing will change. Or maybe we will just get like MAGA price controls.
That'd be kind of gas. I fuck with that.
And then Eli Lilly will like depose Donald Trump somehow. I genuinely don't know where this goes. It's hilarious that he just kind of like walked backwards into this. But it's important to note, like, this is not a principled solution to the issues that we face in healthcare. And therefore it will not be a comprehensive, it will not comprehensively help people in any real way.
And like, again, it's not like real.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't policy like Medicare negotiating prescription drug prices is policy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That, when it goes into effect in 2026, will be real and impactful in measurable ways that we can understand and predict.
Yeah.
This is just a homeboy rambling and doing an executive order, which will honestly likely even be struck down by the courts if it is implemented.
I was about to say, I wonder if it's even constitutional for him to issue price controls.
I don't think so. He tried to do something similar in his first term that was shot down.
Yeah. And I think like there was some shit Joe Biden tried to do that didn't work. Of course, the $35 cap on insulin was legislation.
Yes.
Which, of course, legislation can literally do anything. It's legislation. I don't think he has the power to just issue price controls.
You think he'll become so passionate about this issue that he'll whip Congress?
I mean, this might be the test. Like, Republicans have fallen in line for everything. They are, like, Republicans in Congress are explicitly there to serve the wealthy.
Yeah.
Like, that's why they got their position. It's how they got their position for, like, super PAC
We
donations
could finally
and shit.
see the lobbyists go after Trump. The pharmaceutical lobbyists turn their back.
I wonder if Republicans will, like, the Republican Party puts their foot down on protecting these poor mom and pop pharmaceutical industries.
Imagine they work something like this in a budget reconciliation.
We're capping all prescription drugs at $5.
Hell yeah, brother.
I mean, shit, dog. If this is what it takes.
Hell yeah. It wouldn't
moly.
make the other things worth it, but broken clocks. Good things are good, bad things are bad.
Yeah, I have a feeling this won't happen.
I have a feeling nothing's going to happen, and it's really annoying to say that because I can already see everybody on Twitter, and I have already seen a bunch of conservative accounts on Twitter being like, oh, Democrats want you to continue to pay more for drugs. How are they going to criticize Donald Trump for this one? It's just like, let's use our brains.
I'm criticizing it because it's it's an idea that's clearly not thought through.
Yeah.
In any real way. Like you said, it's not really a policy solution. I'd be cool with anyone doing price controls on drugs.
I want it to be a policy solution. This just isn't. At least in its current form right now. Maybe on Thursday it'll be a policy solution.
We talked about price caps, I think, with like housing when Kamala Harris was running for president, right? Because she had like a price cap idea.
There was something. I think it was about in how she would handle like inflation and greedflation because they finally wanted to start talking about that at the 11th hour, where conservatives said it was groceries, where conservatives said she's doing price controls. This is communism. Look at her radical Marxist daughter.
Yeah, and like what we said at the time, and this is just like always my take on price controls because it's kind of just like the economics under a private system, is that like price controls are not a holistic solution. Because when it's a private industry, they do need to make profit off of the product or they'll stop making it. Establishing price controls below a profitable level will just mean private actors stop, which means people don't get like access to groceries, access to healthcare, housing, and so on. What you need is to decommodify the service, which Trump is not going to do.
Or just state subsidy on the way to decommodifying the service. Like you just do state subsidy to keep prices low and negotiate profit margins with the companies to make sure that the government isn't being ripped off by those things.
Yeah, the issue is that it's privately owned. Like the relationship between consumer, worker, and the person that owns the product is clearly the issue here. The issue isn't that it's just too high. The reason it's so high is because it's privately owned.
Yes.
So the price is sort of downstream of the relationship we have to the product in society. And Trump isn't going to solve that. Price controls in some aspects, especially on like a city level. Like I know Zoran running for NYC mayor, like he can't decommodify housing entirely in New York City. So I'll take rent control. You know what I mean? Like I'll take that as a solution. But price control generally just isn't optimal in some cases.
It's hard because like obviously you have to contend with the system that we live in, and within that system it is a suboptimal measure that you can, it's a band-aid. It's a band-aid that can work maybe temporarily in times of crisis. Yeah.
And like some people that are like pro private health insurance, which is, few and far between, but they'll argue that like, oh, well, companies charge so much because of R&D. It's like we look at like insulin, which has been around for what, ever? Didn't the dude who made insulin say this should be like $1? He sold the patent for $1. Like we can clearly produce this cheaply. And when price controls come for like something like that we've had for a long time that we know how to produce, I'm cool with it.
Then they could stop reformulating it every 7 years to get the new patents. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's a little silly. And it's like the R&D could also be replaced by state subsidy.
And it is in a lot of cases, except under the Trump administration, because they cut a lot of that.
That's how academia used to work. You know what I'm saying?
Last year.
It worked. Last year, a couple months ago, that's how academia worked. We actually have a robust system that we could use to offload R&D costs.
Yeah.
And make it a public thing, but the problem with that is then the results of that R&D would have to be available to the public and not overpriced.
Yeah, so you'll have to forgive me for doubting the sort of internal consistency of this idea.
Yes.
Something might happen. He might claim victory in some way, but I somehow doubt that anything serious is going to happen.
If it does happen, that'd be pretty cool.
Oh, I'm a MAGA communist.
That'd be pretty cool. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Good things are good, bad things are bad.
Precisely. We got right there.
But when you don't have a principled position in like worldview, it's hard to make policy that actually functions, which is why liberals suck a lot of the time.
Or when you just like think you're the king, it's hard to make policy that functions because you think that you can just tweet something and it's law.
And I thought it was very funny the way that Donald Trump talked about it in his Truth Social post, because he made it seem like Republicans have been fighting against the pharmaceutical industry and Democrats have been fighting against solutions like the one Trump is proposing. Brother, you'll find far more purchase among Democrats for price controls than you will Republicans. And maybe that dynamic will flip just because of negative polarization. I don't know, but Like, if we're talking historically, it's very clearly been Democrats trying to do price caps on shit.
Quite literally, 4 years ago? 4 years ago, we had every conservative say, no.
Yeah.
You need to pay more money for prescription
Insulin's
drugs.
the most justifiable one to price cap.
Yes. They said, no, actually, you need to pay a lot for every bottle of insulin.
Exactly.
You really do.
Die.
We have to protect Eli Lilly's margins.
Or die.
If
you don't pay for it, you can just die.
There's inelastic demand, and that's good, because then that means we can push the price like way high.
Well, if we don't restrict people's basic necessities, they won't go to work anymore.
True. If you could have everything you needed to live, like insulin, why would you get your ass up and get a job? Lazy
people that have free healthcare, they don't work nearly as hard as we do.
Precisely. Like all these 24-year-old healthy men on Medicaid.
We need you to be on the brink of death. Otherwise, you won't work. No, this is not a coercive system.
Exactly. Yeah.
We need to have a metaphorical gun to your head. Otherwise, we can't get you to work at your job.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Speaking of guns to heads, ourselves, our own heads, and everybody else's heads, we got some China tariff news.
Let's talk China.
We got some China tariff
news.
This
is a trade podcast.
China bad, China good. Everybody's saying it. Here's where you come for the economics of it all.
Here's the truth.
Here's the truth, and nothing but on this podcast, the number one tariff talk podcast. So over the weekend, the Trump administration was engaged in what it describes as high-level talks with China, just about the whole shebang, about the whole trade and tariff situation. And today morning, the administration announced that as a result of those talks, both countries agreed to lower their tariffs for a 90-day period while they work out the details of a larger deal. According to the New York Times, Trump will lower the tariff of Chinese goods from 145% to 30%, while China will lower their tariff from 125% to 10%, both being a reduction of 115% on their tariff rates.
Still higher than it was before he took office?
Still much higher than it was before they took office. China will also get rid of other tariff countermeasures, like their restriction they put on rare earth metal exports, which genuinely would have just killed industries. Cars need rare earth metals, computers need rare earth metals, aerospace needs rare earth metals, defense needs rare earth metals.
Do you know if there's still products coming in that will have to pay that original 145% tariff?
That's the thing that I don't know, because the news just broke today. I know when a tariff gets implemented, it's not implemented like traditionally. Usually it's not implemented like exactly on that time. It'll give some time for things to prepare, because you have ships that come into port as the tariff is announced that obviously you can't just eat that money. You need to be able to plan for some shit like that.
The economy is based on expectations.
Yes, but I think that when tariffs are taken away, it would make sense that it's immediately taken away and you don't really have to wait to take them away.
Yeah.
That's what makes the most sense to me. There could be a waiting period on things. Either way, if there is a waiting period, I would imagine it be soon, because the only reason that this happened is because Trump wants ships to be able to dock at port. And nobody wants to pay the 145% tariff, so they're just not docking at port.
And it was essentially a week of news where reporters were like, yeah, the dock's fucking empty. Like, there are no freighter ships coming in right now.
Yes, and it's like, while this whole ordeal, this whole, like, I don't know, pause while we negotiate things out, will stop the empty store shelves, at least like in the short term, as retailers have 6 to 8 weeks of inventory and shipping containers will be able to get over in that time to replenish what they have. We're still at risk of facing as just like noticeable price increases. The tariff's bigger.
It's still 30%.
The tariff is still 30%, which is way more than it was before. I believe the tariff on China was like less than 10% beforehand or some shit like that. And that is going to get passed on to us.
30% is more of what we expected when he talked about tariffs on the campaign trail. You know, he was saying blanket tariffs. 10 to 30% is around what a lot of people expected. And even then, they were like, this is catastrophic.
100%.
This will raise prices. Because, again, it's a tax on imports. And obviously, the companies are going to pass that to the consumer.
And it's also like things that have already seen price increases because of tariffs or the anticipation of 145% tariffs are not going to go down. You are not going to see a majority of the things where the majority of companies who have raised prices will not then lower those prices.
Prices never go down.
Prices are sticky, baby. They are going to stay up there because they've already kind of like proved that maybe people can go up there, or they'll be lowered a little bit.
Well, yeah, like what incentive does a company have if they increase their prices by like 15% in anticipation? What incentive do they have to lower them if they know people are still going to buy it?
Especially in a market, not a market, but especially in a scenario like this where the pause is only 90 days. we have no idea if the 145% tariff comes back. Shit, we have no idea if it's going to be a 200% tariff by the time any of this is over. We don't know anything. We don't even know if it's going to last the full 90 days.
Yeah, Trump could come out next week and be like 2 billion% tariff.
Exactly.
On China. Like, he could just cancel all trade with China. He could ban trade.
We are completely decoupling from China. It could happen. Stranger things have happened. 145% tariff happened, and that was considered catastrophic beforehand. It's not looking good. And even on top of the 30% tariff on China increasing prices, just by virtue of it being a 30% tariff, we will still also see a price increase as a result of every single corporation that wanted to import something from China will be importing everything that they can within these 90 days. We are going to see shipping bottlenecks. We are going to see like overfilled shipping boats running on fucking double time, port workers running on double time to unload all of this, and that will cause downstream effects that will also have an effect on price increases that we're seeing. It's not just going to be the 30% tariff.
Yeah. And
that's just how it works.
That's quite literally inflation.
Because shipping rates will raise to accommodate the increased volume that we're seeing as everybody wants to order everything that they, one, have been waiting to ship since the 145% tariff has been in effect, and two, order everything that they possibly can in case these talks break down and the tariff comes back in. It's just like, it's not a situation that anybody can predict anything in.
And it's like, this is just China. Like, we had the UK deal last week, which still maintained a 10% tariff anyways, except on those luxury goods that Trump and his friends like to buy. But like other countries, like there's still tariffs on Canada, there's still tariffs on Mexico, there's still tariffs on our other trading partners. So people are still going to be hesitant about getting stuff to stock shelves that come from countries other than China in this period. And like you said, still 30% tariffs, so prices are still going to go up.
Which is lovely. We're just not going to see empty store shelves.
Yeah, we might not have totally empty shelves, but it's gonna cost you more.
Yeah, which, fuck, man.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? And it's also just like, what happened to the great revival in American manufacturing?
Yep.
Yeah. What happened to manufacturing iPhones in America?
Yeah, we were told that these tariffs were supposed to bring manufacturing back to America.
Good manufacturing jobs. Manufacturing jobs where you're sitting at the fucking loom and doing whatever the fuck that China did before.
Manufacturing jobs that China stole from us, and now we're making a deal with China for trade. If the tariffs are gone, how are they going to bring jobs back?
Exactly. If the tariffs are gone, what's the incentive to manufacture in America? Is the incentive the idea that Trump might just randomly pull out a gun?
Yeah, exactly.
You have no idea when I'm going to press the tariff button, so you ought to just build here.
Yeah.
If that is the situation, that's not a situation where anybody can function. Yep. And like we've said before, they'll just wait out the 3 years.
And I meant to say this last week, but even with the tariffs, even if they somehow bring manufacturing back, there's no guarantee that those jobs are going to be good or lucrative jobs for American people.
There's no guarantee that those jobs will even stay in the country, as eventually, if the incentives that caused capital flight to happen in the first place aren't adjusted, or we don't put stricter measures on companies that are incorporated in the United States or headquarters in the United States, they're just going to eventually offshore to like the next cheapest place to manufacture.
And like the reason that those jobs were good to begin with, good being a relative term, of course, is because they were unionized jobs.
Unions and pensions.
And there was a lot of government regulation and oversight coming in at the time. That doesn't like exist anymore. Yeah. If we get a bunch of jobs back, even like from a country like China, say we get like a bunch of like clothing manufacturing that comes here, there's no guarantee that those jobs are good for anybody, but it will make somebody else a lot of money.
Yes.
How does that help America as a whole? How does that help the American people as a whole? It doesn't. There's no guarantee that these tariffs will actually help anybody except people that want to make a lot of money.
Yeah. It's a stupid situation.
Yeah, it's really stupid.
It's wholly fucking dumb. And like the details of this haven't come out because obviously there are no details. They're still going to be negotiating over the next 90 days. Yeah. But we do have some news from Scott Bessent. As the New York Times reports, Bessent said that purchase agreements for American goods are some of the things that are on the table to reduce the trade deficit we have with China. No details of what these purchase agreements may contain, but considering the UK deal,
fucking stupid, man.
I'm really curious if we're just going to force American-made beef on China.
Yeah, you will drive a Ford F-150.
I gotta wonder if we're just going to continue to just force things that don't mesh with other markets just into them.
Yeah, that makes me feel like the deal maybe won't get done because like it's really easy to get the UK to agree to take our beef. Yeah. But I don't know. I guess I don't really know.
I think China already imports a lot of agricultural things from America. Like I think it's like bone marrow and
lots
like
of
some other shit.
And like shit like that.
But like to expand, are we just gonna force them to just get more shit?
And I feel like we're just gonna get to a point where maybe the deal is like marginally better than what we were already doing with China.
It's gonna be marginally better.
And we just put ourselves through this crisis for literally no reason.
Yeah.
Which is what happened last time Trump was in office, by the way.
There's no doubt in my mind that at the end of this fiasco, if the tariffs do go away, which who fucking knows, he seems ideologically committed to keeping 10% on literally everything for no goddamn fucking reason, just because tariff's a beautiful word. I think whatever trade deal happens, it will reduce the trade deficit we have with China. It will do some other things, but it won't do anything meaningful. Yeah. And it will all just have been this whole circus and fiasco and just big charade. You know?
Yeah. And even if it does, again, like even if it does end up increasing, GDP to some statistically knowable degree, it does nothing to ensure that those increases or those benefits are shared evenly among the people. To do any of this appropriately, to do any of this for the benefit of the working class, you got to attack capital. Exactly. And Trump is a capitalist.
No matter what deal is made, unless it be, I don't know, substantial and genuinely historic, this is not going to make your life better. It's not going to do anything for you. And it only it risks making your life worse in very measurable and very noble ways. Again, it is so much easier to destroy and tear down and make things worse than it is to make things good.
Yeah, it's hard to make things good.
Very hard to make things good. People have tried for a long time, folks, and things are still pretty not good.
Yeah, and again, that UK deal was a fucking joke.
Yeah, it was.
It was a total joke. Like, we're getting luxury cars in here without tariffs, but there's still a 10% tariff on the UK.
UK deal was, I guess we'll let you send steel to us so that we don't cripple your steel industry, or at least reduce it by like a not insignificant portion. We're going to buy luxury cars for my rich friends, and you're going to buy our shit beef. Which I guess, realistically, it's not going to be shit beef that gets exported to the UK. It's going to be like the specialty stuff. But like...
Yeah. But again, like, okay, companies are making those gains, but how are those gains being distributed? Companies will not just raise the wages of workers because they feel it's the fair thing to do under a new trade regime. They're going to keep it for themselves.
Exactly.
You need government regulation.
Oh, no, the meat packing facility is going to hire more workers.
Yeah, we're going to hire some kids from Florida.
I don't know, man. I don't know if that seems like my vision for America's future.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Broadly, outside of forcing our beef on China, on CNBC's Monday morning, Bessent said, quote, "We tried to identify shared interests. We came with a lot of problems that we were trying to solve, and I think we did a good job on that. One, nothing got solved. The only thing that got solved is maybe less tariff than before. And two, like Scott Bessent is saying that part of the pathway to the deal is working out a way for China to scale back its manufacturing sector over production while we scale up our own manufacturing here in America." And I just got to take a moment to say that seems like something that's not going to happen.
That seems fucking impossible. We're going to convince a country to stop making as much stuff.
Yes.
Come on, man.
And it's like the allegation of like Chinese overproduction. That is how China gets its soft power throughout the global economy.
Yeah.
What they're saying here is China, through state subsidies, holding up like corporations that are unprofitable and keeping their head above water so they can send out cheap goods throughout the global economy, increasing the market share that they can capture up and just increasing China's soft power. They're saying that that's bad. They're essentially alleging that China is doing what Amazon did to diapers.com.
We do that for our agricultural industry.
That's what we're actively doing when we send our shitty beef to the UK and force them to buy our shitty beef. Like, it's the pot calling the kettle black. And it's also just like, they're not going to do that.
And like our farmers are swimming in subsidies. More specifically, agricultural companies are swimming in subsidies. It's the reason that we export our agricultural goods all over the world. We do the same shit and then get mad at China for doing it.
And China's not going to scale back doing that in any meaningful way.
No.
That is their soft power initiative, and they're not as stupid as we are.
Yeah.
I don't get it. And also just...
And China doesn't, like, pretend to be anti-state investment.
Oh, no, like, they're very much pro-state investment. They come out and say it.
Well, every country is. We pretend that we're not, but we very clearly are.
I think we should be more pro-state investment. I think we should be maybe doing the same thing.
It's how we built up literally every industry that we've crowned ourselves
I'm not going to come out here and make, like, a moral argument for or against, like, a country engaging in overproduction that could maybe do something or have negative effects on the line. I just don't know enough about the thing to do it. I just know I want the cheap Chinese EV.
Desperately, brother. Desperately, brother.
Chinese EV.
You know how sick that would be?
That's what I'm saying. Oh. Man, it's crazy.
$9,000 car.
$9,000 car. That's ridiculous.
Oh man, that'd be so sick. Yeah.
And it's also just like none of this is a way that in any of this, I cannot see a way that American manufacturing comes back. The entire argument for American manufacturing coming back rested on a ridiculous tariff that would force companies to make here rather than import because it would simply be too expensive. You get rid of the tariff because you reach a trade deal. Why is anybody coming here?
Nobody will.
If anything, you are going to see things like what we've seen throughout the last couple of months where, what was it, like Honda announced they were going to do a plant here. Some other company announced that they were going to invest like in making chips in Arizona or some shit like that. You're going to see some of that going on, but it's not going to be anything that's like incredibly meaningful.
Yeah.
It's not going to be anything even probably like the fucking CHIPS Act.
It takes years to build up factories, and the CHIPS Act is an example of like a well thought out plan for investing in American manufacturing. It essentially, in a lot of ways, is just a handout to corporations, but under a capitalist framework, if you want to incentivize manufacturing of specific industries or building up specific industries in a country domestically, you got to do something like the CHIPS Act.
Exactly.
You can't just impose tariffs and expect countries to be here, or companies to come here, and then take away the tariffs randomly when no one's expecting.
And it's like, you don't have to go nuclear and start a fucking trade war unprovoked out of nowhere to be able to invest in your own country's manufacturing. That's just something that you could do. We saw it happen in the last administration. And then maybe after you invest in that industry and you build up some plants, you can do tariffs, reasonable tariffs to protect that industry.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I think state investment in industries is totally fair.
And it's just like the tariffs just kind of feel like the economic equivalent of murder-suicide.
Yeah.
I'm putting a gun to... I'm an ex-boyfriend. I'm putting a gun to my head. Don't fucking leave me. If you leave me, I'll kill myself.
Exactly.
That's like what we're doing, and we don't have to do that. We could move on. We could work on ourselves.
We really could. We really could.
But that's...
Dude, we just need a federal jobs program.
Yeah, get guaranteed job. Go plant trees,
just
brother.
Federal, yeah, exactly. That's what we did during the New Deal,
and it was beautiful.
It was a part of the New
Deal, and it worked,
Deal.
and that's how we got to where we are.
Imagine if we like establish, because like essentially the military-industrial complex is like a federal jobs program, except private companies just make a bunch of money. We flood like. Entire state economies are dependent upon weapons manufacturing, for example. Imagine if we did that with like healthcare. Oh. Imagine if we had a federal jobs program built around building up our healthcare industry.
You do healthcare billing, and that's it.
Or built around building up like education capacities or something like that. And obviously not in a way that like benefits a private actor that's just trying to make money, but in a way that's just like, we're going to do something for the social good. We're going to flood the healthcare industry with public dollars, and you're going to make shit for people for free.
Exactly.
That'd be cool.
Your job is to put the cap on the insulin vial. Man. $50K a year.
Here's a pension.
50K a year pension union job. Argue against me. Go ahead and do it.
Wouldn't that be so beautiful? Good? I'm dreaming of a utopian society, people.
And it's just like thinking about the tariffs and like my conclusions when it comes to like just this whole fiasco and just what's been announced as of at least Monday, May 12th. The only immediately positive news here is that things aren't going to be as bad as they could have been, but they're still worse than they had to be. And that's the art of the deal.
And it's like this 90-day pause is low-key an admission from the Trump administration that it would have been terrible.
Yeah, we have to let goods get in. We cannot let store shelves be empty.
Yeah, and there's a reason that they were sort of acting with urgency and landed on this pause right now, because we knew that a couple weeks into May, things would have gotten really ugly, really fast, and they got out ahead of it. People were really banking on a 30-day or on a pause that lowered tariff percentages, and that's what we got. So,
gotta love to see it.
This is where we are now. Lastly, we can end on some geopolitics.
We love geopolitics here on this podcast.
I adore geopolitics.
We love local politics. We love national politics.
It's true.
Most certainly love geopolitics.
International politics. And this week, I meant to bring this up last week during the Thursday episode, but we're going to talk quickly about India and Pakistan, because seemingly there was like a sort of ceasefire negotiated by the United States between India and Pakistan, but we'll see that it's sort of unclear exactly what's happening here.
I'm not going to pretend like I know enough about like India and Pakistan and the conflict between those countries to make like an educated take on this. Like maybe I can about Israel and Palestine because things are so plainly bad. But I do know that it's really funny that Trump got Biden'd when he announced a ceasefire, and then the ceasefire was immediately broken.
Yeah, like, Trump got Biden to big time. Essentially, all you need to know is this conflict is another result of the British just drawing lines on a map and saying, that looks good.
Oh, so it's just like, okay, yeah.
Britain partitioned India however long ago, and now we've had conflict ever since.
Cool.
So there was seemingly a historic reignition of military tension between India and Pakistan. I believe like the biggest military conflict in several years between the two nations, although things have always certainly been tense. Again, a long and storied conflict motivated... a long and storied conflict that we can just thank the British for outright. Classic. Same thing with Israel and Palestine. Same thing for a lot of places.
It's funny because, is this probably... No, I guess it's after Britain pulled out of India. not necessarily like World War II drawing lines on maps,
After they intentionally caused a famine as well.
Yes. Yeah.
I think, Churchill like intentionally starved Bengalis in India during World War II. That was pretty
The UK
crazy.
used to be just like the world's villain.
Oh, yeah.
And now here they are buying our shitty beef.
What empire does to a motherfucker, you know what I mean? But the gist of this most recent episode was a terrorist attack in Kashmir that India blamed on Pakistan. Kashmir is basically split in half. There's an India-administered Kashmir. There's a Pakistan-administered Kashmir. India blamed an attack on their side on Pakistan. Pakistan denied this. Fighting ensued for a couple of days. About 70 people died in a pretty short span of time, and civilians were evacuated from their homes. And then on Saturday, a ceasefire seemingly brokered by the United States was announced. And then immediately after, as you said, Trump got Biden and fighting commenced like literally hours after this announcement was made. As of right now, the ceasefire seems to be holding, but evacuated civilians have been told to not return home. And India has publicly said that we are still continuing like air operations.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they're like specifically dropping bombs, but like they've got airplanes overhead. Essentially.
I like how ceasefire just doesn't mean like ceasefire anymore. I guess if they're not firing, I guess it's not like the Israel ceasefire where it means we're going to bomb a little less.
Yeah, exactly. It's not clear what the content of the ceasefire is. They didn't release like a document, but Trump posted on Truth Social like, I'm going to increase trade with these two countries as like a condition of the ceasefire, which is just like, all right, man, we'll send to them some Ford F-150s and we'll get them to stop fighting. Sure. It's so stupid. Obviously, rapidly developing situation. By the time this episode comes out, it might be entirely different. But I thought that was the portion I think is very funny is that Trump thinks that he's like doing anything here.
Yeah, well, he's a dove. He's bringing peace to the world. He could stop Ukraine and Russia on day one. And
he could.
Everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So again, Pakistan, India seemingly are holding to a ceasefire. I don't know what's exactly going to come of this. I looked it up just now just to make sure I didn't miss anything in the last few hours. It seems like tensions are still enormously high. Who knows what's going to happen here?
Jesus Christ. I
two nuclear powers, by the way.
Love
Pakistan
that.
and India.
I love it when two nuclear powers start battling. That's cool. I think the funniest thing that could happen is if Biden on his like stupid fucking redemption tour that he's doing came out and said, they never would have fired on each other if I was in office.
And then he announces his run for 2028.
Yeah, brother. I'm a dove. India and Pakistan never would have attacked each other if I was in office. I can tell you that right now.
I know Modi very well. He never would have done such a thing. Oh my God.
I talk to Modi all the time.
I love how Biden's redemption tour is entirely focused on him. He's not. I know historically and traditionally past presidents aren't meant to criticize current presidents as they're in office. I get that's like a tradition.
Yeah.
They're talking about suspending habeas corpus, though. Now's the time.
Scott Bessent said that the trade situation with China is Biden's fault.
Yeah, like they're criticizing him.
He said that this morning or Sunday night. Like, I think we're past historical norms here.
If Biden genuinely wanted to do something like a redemption tour, he should come out and say, I get there were criticisms. I accept responsibility for Kamala Harris losing.
Yep.
But look at what Trump's doing now. I want to fight against that.
Yeah,
that would be like
cool.
The noble thing to do. I still doubt his capacity to like in any meaningful way engage in discourse productively.
Yep.
But he's making his redemption campaign entirely about him and how Democrats were wrong and how he shouldn't have been forced out and how he could have won.
Isn't it so sad that I could have won the presidency and we wouldn't be having all this? And I'm also not going to say that Trump's doing anything wrong except for maybe a couple of things that are incredibly egregious.
NATO.
Guys, you don't get it. It's like I'm so good. It's like I have a PhD.
But I don't.
And
I'm just that good.
That part right there.
Anyways, I think that brings us to the end of this glorious Monday mandate.
Yes.
If you want early access to episodes like this one, head over to Patreon.
You know exactly what
it's in the description. But before we get out of here, of course, we have to thank the people that make this possible.
A list of wonderful, beautiful people who, if they were in office, none of these wars would happen. Everybody would calm down.
This is our cabinet. Once we get elected.
Yes,
you know
sir.
What I mean? We are filling this with Patreon listeners.
Right from the Patreon list. Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's going to be a Patreon list to White House pipeline when we're in power.
The Patreon money doesn't go to us. It goes to a separate sovereign fund.
Hell yeah. A sovereign fund that we can use on whatever we want.
It goes to a separate fund, but it's not like actually ours. So it's not like an actual like bribe to us. Guys, it hits the business bank account, not our personal bank account.
Exactly.
Like, it's not a bribe. It's not a gift.
It's not.
You know what I'm saying?
It's absolutely not a bribe. I've investigated myself and found I did nothing wrong.
I didn't.
So
I didn't. If any of you would like to give me a Boeing 747 I'm open.
Feel free, man.
Feel free.
I got places to go.
Send it on over. I could be flying around in my palace in the sky. But anyway, got to give a special thanks to Caden Kraut, Lord Dow the Radiant, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Dylan B, Mike Chaplinsky, Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Caleb Joy, Rich Toro, Tari, Fergalaki, Max Vesquez, Jacob Rogers, Colin Mooberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Jeff Muzzy, Bagel Burrito, Cincy Alex, Joe Stentrum, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Colleen Cutsford Yook, Jennifer DeVoe, Big Bird Titty Crawfish, and Bennett Bennington III, Alexia Benanti, Nietzsche, Big Booty Beatdown, Sam Maloney, Two-Headed Boy, Ben Shapiro's Boyfriend, Ted Cruz's Boy Toy, Dictator Jace, Luke O'Shea, Carker Carlson, Danielle Jackson, The Word of Microsoft, Jennifer Sines, Aaron and his Gundam Gundams, Darth Father, Tailored for Content, Corey Chambers, Ellie N, Devin Hatchard, Retro Mondo, Emma the Doot Slayer, Veronica aka V, Raxon, Ash Smith, The Grotler, Flower Clown, Beetlebugs, Murder in a Trench Coat, Lonnie Rogers, Slavic and Sapphic, Casey Lynn Kelly, Snake Eyes, In Hope of Giants, AK Gon, Zach Lantian, Info Russell, Austin Greif, Marcus Corbett, Caleb Roper, Taylor Rensock, Cammy, Tylen Freeman, Tay Tay, Isaac Hodges, Madeline C, Kayla Lowe, Anna Valenic, KCC, Say Yes to Wes,
August, Particular Pikmin, Sir Capalot, Jeff Sines, Howard the Duck, Brennan is Egg, JR, Froggy Gumdrop, Jackie Boy, Shameless, Coherent Babbles, MJ is Sharp, Michaela Munsley, The Walls 3000, Jared Finch, Tactical Snowflake, Son of Ander, Vanilla Bryce, Chris T, Kishan Lala, Amanda R, Hanky Panky, Tyler J, Damian Blues, Ashley White, Particulon, Memfrez, Lauren, Uncrestmatic Boar, Sasquatch, Ron Stiletto, Midwest Marxist, Joe the Mailman, Gary from West Michigan, Shawnee GG, Juniper Not Jupiter, Stacked Crabs, I Crowley, Urban Peach, Lord of Forlorn, Holt Forsyth, Kevin Kasaya, Booty Snakes, Erica, Krusty Krab, Dew Fairy, Chelceratops, Austin Lima, Lane Waltz, Azim Fida Hussein, Gorgeous Girl Mukes, Brooklyn G, Noverk the Dastardly, Goldthorn, Addie Book, Merlin, John from Houston, Anaya, Cryo Bongi, Sergeant Pookie, Connor Nix, Jordan T, Hoodie, Kim Kitsragi, Rose Grimm, Kristen, Jamie the Young Extremist, Jack the Heathen, Archer W, Evan Mingo, AJ Torres, Elo Nico, Jake Hall, Seth Schmidt, Daniel Stock, Noah Sahas, Majawat, Ultra the Dragon, Mercy Boku, Dick Cheney and 6 Inch Heels, Luke Wechter, Henry Kraggles, Tristan Ringsmith, Yaya, Hannah Attig, and my mom. Thank you all so much for supporting the show on Patreon. We couldn't do it without you.
We absolutely would not be here doing 2 episodes a week, not one.
Double trouble.
2 episodes a week.
That's double trouble right there.
To cover exactly the trouble that the Trump administration is doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I guess with that, see you on Thursday.
Have a great first half of your week.
That's right.
Money.